Welcome to today's show, Success and Intentional Lifestyle. I'm your host, Jeff Heiser, a motivator, a leader, and a communicator. Good morning and welcome to Success and Intentional Lifestyle. I'm your host, Jeff Heiser, and I am so happy that you've tuned in to hear today's show. Many thanks go out to everyone who's listening around the world. And, I just looked at the numbers and the places where people are looking from, and we do literally have people from around the world. Our top 9, besides the top 1, which is the United States, the top 9 are countries all over in Europe, and we actually have Australia and South America listed in there also. So thank you so much for tuning in. I know you have other choices, but I really appreciate you tuning in to hear Success and Intentional Lifestyle. I hope your morning has been a great start to a wonderful day, and I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Mine was pretty good. Mostly spent a lot of time working on things for here at the job and doing some ideas and just, putzing around the house, I guess you would call it. So hope you had a good weekend, and those up in the Northeast, I hope the weather wasn't too bad for you. You did get that big nor'easter that was pretty significant for this time of the year. I hope you're all faring well after that storm. I watched the Boston Red Sox and Tampa Bay game on Sunday, and now you got to remember this is the middle of May, okay? And it was raining and 40 degrees at 1 o'clock in the afternoon up there, and I'm thinking, holy smokes! And they had a wind. I think they said it was 15 or 20 knots, and people were just bundled up and covered in rain ponchos and what have you. But you got to be a diehard to go to a baseball game in the rain and sit through the drizzling rain and 40-degree temperatures with a 20-mile-an-hour wind blowing on you. You really got to be a diehard. So, and it's the funniest thing about the game was that it was the longest 9-inning game that the Rays have ever played. It was 4 hours and 32 minutes, I think, for 9 innings. Unbelievable. The last 2 innings, the Rays scored, I think, like 7 or 8 runs. It was a good game. You can find out more about success and intentional lifestyle by visiting the Jeff Heiser Radio website at www.jeffheiserradio.com or by visiting facebook.com Jeff Heiser Radio. Now, if you're not sure how you spell this, okay, I've been doing this every week for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now, three years. It's www.jeffheiser.radio.com. So go out there and check it out. If you like it, let me know. I'd really appreciate it. It got me thinking about this weekend. I don't know if you've been watching the news. There was this cyber attack, and it released what we call ransomware virus on. It was over thousands of machines that affected hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses around the world. And basically, what it did was it attacked the computer system, and then pops up this window and says it encrypts all the files, and then pops up this window and says, "Send us $600 or $300, whatever it was, or we will destroy all of your files. You'll never get them back again, and you've got X amount of time to do it." Well, if you've been following this, on Friday, I believe it was Friday or Saturday, a young man in England actually found how to stop this. And the reason I bring this up is because he's only 22 years old. And you have to do what he did, you have to be extremely mentally tough. And this is my reasoning why you have to be. Because the chances of this virus getting out, first off, from your lab could be significant. The chances of this virus destroying your lab is very relevant, and you have to be motivated to go and find what is causing it and how to stop it. You have to be confident enough to know how to do this in a way that you're confident that you can stop it. You have to be focused enough to stay on the task of going after this virus until you find it. And then today, what we're going to talk about is composure. And you have to be composed enough that when you find it, that you don't blow it and accidentally release it or whatever, or you think you have the fix and you let it out because you're so excited, and it winds up you're doing more damage than the virus did. Now, the important thing about this, why I bring this up, is this young man found it. He actually found the problem, and what it was the hackers basically left a back door. And that back door was, the way the virus worked was, it would come in, it'd infect your machine, and it'd go and try to connect to a website to tell the website that I've connected. And if it didn't, it fired off its bad software. Well, it could never connect because the website that it was going to did not exist. And that's what this young man found out. And what he did was he said, okay, if it doesn't exist, it's doing this. What does it do if it does exist? So he registered the domain. He let it go to that domain. And guess what? It shut down the virus. But if he wouldn't have been able, if he wasn't motivated, confident, focused, and then composed, he would have never been able to be successful. And he's so composed, he won't even show his face because, well, for obvious reasons, for security reasons. But he's a humble person, I guess, and he's just out to beat the hackers, to show that he's motivated, confident, focused, and composed in the fact that he can beat them. And he did this time. And let's see what happens next time. When the going gets tough, how do you respond? How would you have responded to the virus attack? I would have been fairly confident, motivated. I mean, that's my prior life. My prior life has been that in computers. I mean, my job for a long time was encryption and stopping attacks and how to protect systems in a manner that we wouldn't have losses. And when I left my previous company, we had processed over 20 million transactions without any loss from hackers or from being having anything stolen from the system. Now, I'm going to ask you again. When the going gets tough, how do you respond? How would you have responded to this if you got this ransom note that came up and said, all your files are going to be gone unless you pay us $600 in the next 3 hours? There's a saying. They say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Are you tough? Your composure, which is the fourth part of the mental toughness series that we're talking about, is your ability to remain calm and in control when the going gets tough. I remember sitting in meetings, and when I was young, I guess, I would say I was immature in the business world. Some will find that hard to believe, but I believe I believe I still am to some degree. But I remember being, I guess you could say, sandbagged or blindsided by the client, in that they had only wanted to hear my proposal because they were going to use my proposal to leverage it against the other vendor or the other supplier that they had been considering. And I found out. And I lost my control in some of those meetings. I've lost my control in some of the meetings when people that were in the meetings in the company would say ridiculous things or make ridiculous claims. And what I found out is losing control never won that argument for me. And it was a hard lesson to learn. Your composure in difficult situations many times is what will be a determining factor in whether you win or lose whatever it is. The argument, the deal, the job, the circumstances. Think about this. If you are, if a bad guy comes up to you and you're not composed, you're highly trained. You're highly trained. You know how to defend yourself. You know how to disarm people. You know how to end a situation successfully for you. But if for whatever reason you do not remain composed, full of composure and self-control, you will lose. Because the whole idea behind those things is to remain in control. Again, composure can be the determining factor whether you win or lose. Composure can be defined as your ability to stay in control of yourself in a manner that allows you to continue to perform at an optimum level, regardless of the situation. You know, I can look back at many times in my life that if I hadn't remained in control of my composure, if I hadn't remained composed in a way that allowed me to continue with what I had to do, I wouldn't be here right now. I know that for a fact. I know for a fact that when the terrorists stopped our van, if I had freaked out, we would have never got out with fire extinguishers. I would have either been a hostage or a statistic. Instead, we remained composed. We thought clearly, and we stayed in control of ourselves and our emotions. See, as we grow and learn through our experiences, we learn how to respond in certain situations. And we start that from when we were just little babies. It works kind of like this. Your brain and your mind are actually two separate things. And that's a whole topic for another show. I'm not going to go into it here. But let's just focus. Let's just say that the brain and the mind are really two separate things. The body obeys the brain, and the brain obeys the mind. And as a result, there are certain emotions and reactions that your brain automatically produces in response to certain situations. You feel it when you are confronted, or if you're in a place that you know is not a good place to be, and somebody confronts you. Certain things happen in your body. You'll feel, some people say, I can feel the hair on the back of my neck go up. Some people say the hair on my arms go up. Some people say I get goosebumps. Some people say I get sick to my stomach. Some people say I get real anxious. Those are all automatic responses that your brain is sending to your body in certain situations. But knowing how all this works and what responses will occur during certain situations gives you an advantage. So if you're in a meeting and certain things are said, or you're attacked verbally, or it could be physically, you will know how to respond. I can tell you one time I was I used to be a mediator for a court, and went through this long mediation. It was a difficult mediation, and the one individual was an old man and an old black man, and the other individual was a motorcycle gang member, and he was a huge dude. He was like 6'8", probably well over 3.